right, we'll talk about this Michigan State game. It was a rivalry game. I think the environment was probably exactly what Michigan wanted in that game. I mean, this is especially the first half. It felt like a very mano a mano type of situation. But when you actually break down the stats, it did not reflect like that at all. Michigan was impressive on the ground, ran for 135 yards. They were impressive through the air, threw for 110. They were 63% on first downs in the first half. They outpossessed Michigan State by 5 minutes. They didn't punt. And the only problem with the first half is that they kicked some field goals. And then you look at the second half, and this is where they really turned it on. They talked about Illinois and their ability to adjust at halftime. I think Michigan might be in position with Ohio State for second best in the conference at making those adjustments. But second half, they outgained Michigan State 198 yards to 63. They outrushed them 141 to -18 for Michigan State, 50% on third downs. Michigan State did not convert a third down in the second half, owned the time of possession, close to 23 minutes of that second half. Michigan had the football, and it's really hard to win games when you don't touch the damn ball. As I would like to put it, it was a good old-fashioned ass beating, and to me, it wasn't really close. What were your thoughts as you walked away from watching that game?
No, I agree with you. I think that's obviously the stats don't lie, and then even watching it, to your point, this Michigan team has done this to Penn State. They've done it to pretty much everyone that they've played, where physically they've dominated you. They've made you feel like a lesser person after you walked out of there. And I think probably a lesser man and a lesser team. And they did that to little brother all day on Saturday.
I was waiting for a little brother reference. I wasn't going to throw it out there, but I figured you might toss it.
I figured I had to, I'll be that guy. I'll be the most hated. I'll be the most hated. But this Michigan team, I've said it. I've said it, and I need someone to prove me right at this point in time, because no one's been able to stop them from imposing their will, especially in the run game. Yeah, but I really got to see JJ. If I'm going to put these guys in a category with, and it's not even JJ, and like that's the thing, because I think the kid's talented as shit. I just need to see like Michigan put him in situations where he's got to make some football plays at that position, some quarterback plays. Like he's got to operate, and like, hey, I'll never forget it. My freshman year, we played in the rain against Kent State, and dumping ass rain. We were up big in like the first quarter, then it starts dumping, and we kept throwing the football, and I didn't realize it at that time. And I asked Coach O'Brien after. I'm like, hey, like, why the hell do we keep throwing? He goes, God, I just want to see how you're going to react. 18-year-old kid playing in the rain. We're up big. I just kind of want to see how you were going to react in it. I mean, torrential downpour. So, like, for me, I think that doing that is healthy when you have the ability to control the variables in a game where you oftentimes don't have the opportunity to do that.
For sure.
Because you're going to need it at some point. And I know if this Michigan team, and I've said this, if this Michigan team wants to go toe-to-toe with, I mean, we're going to find out against Ohio State, because we've talked at nauseum about this Ohio State team this year compared to the Ohio State team last year. But even in the bigger picture, Tennessee, even an Alabama team right now, like there's teams that are in this top six that I think will pose Michigan a lot of problems.
In Alabama right now, which is wild considering who Nick Saban is as a coach, their secondary is the weakness of their defense right now. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to challenge with the throw game. I'm totally there with you. And you are becoming a little media personality over there, my friend, because this segues perfectly into what's next here on the rundown, because I wanted to talk about the big play production from the wide receivers and the pass catchers for Michigan. So in this game, they had 4 passes of 15 or more yards. They had a 28-yarder to Luke Schoonmaker, the tight end. That was only 7 air yards, and then Luke did the rest. And they had an 18-yarder to Schoonmaker that was only 4 air yards, and then Schoonmaker did the rest. They had a 24-yarder to Schoonmaker, a lot of tight end action here. That was 19 air yards, and then he did the rest for the rest of the 5. And then they had a 29-yarder to Bell, ended up being 22 air yards. So, excuse me, 3 of their 4 big passes were under 20 air yards. To me, I need to see if this Michigan team can challenge down the field. And I really need to see it from the wide receiver position. I love that they integrate the tight ends as a former linebacker, those guys piss me off because they're really hard to defend. And Michigan has a great game plan because a lot of the plays will be on wide delays. The tight end will delay, act like he's pass protecting, and then he'll sneak out. And you forget about that guy every time. Great design, but can you throw it down the football field? That is the biggest question for me when it comes to this offense and JJ McCarthy. And part of the issue in answering that question, they don't do it. They don't attempt to throw it down the football field. So we're not going to get the answer to that question until they're in a situation where they got to have it.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine if these guys had big play, big strike ability, and if they used like first down play action. Sure. Like what type of bind that would put a defense into, like first down play action, big shots. Like it'd be like USC when they had Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and Lendell White, and then they had who's the fucking freak show outside that was like 6'6", Dwayne Johnson.
They had a bunch of those guys.
Dwayne Jared. But that whole run, right? Like you didn't know what to do. Like you had a team that had a quarterback who could facilitate down the field. They had burners on the outside that could get open and catch it. And then they had two guys behind it that they could turn around and hand it off to, and they could score at any point in time. So when you're at that type of bind, like that's when a team that's built the way Michigan's built becomes as dangerous as like the new age Ohio State and the new age Tennessee, who use tempo and thoroughbreds everywhere and just throw to green grass. So like if you're gonna be old school, you gotta have, to me, you gotta have the complete package in Ohio, and Michigan hasn't shown that yet, but they can't knock them. They also haven't had to, right? They have not had to. So tip of the cap to that. I'll drink to that. Good job, Jim Harbaugh, and the Fighting Wolverines up there. But I just think that you're going to have to eventually.
There's going to come a time.
If this road, every day, every dog has its day.
Yeah, and I mean, if this Ohio State game at the end of the year is going to be as back and forth as we might think it is, that would be the time. And that's a hard spot because they got to travel to Columbus to ask JJ McCarthy to do that. I want to talk about Blake Corum real quick. I mean, this is a guy who we've seen hit some home runs this year, but he had a 16-yarder, 17 to 17 to 12. Those were his big runs of the game. It was no home runs, but the issue with this cat, man, just keep handing him the pill and he'll wear your ass down.
Yeah. He's kind of like to me, he's kind of like a Emmitt Smith and like a Barry Sanders combination. Like he's got the home run ability and the short area quickness that Barry had, but he's also got the consistency, pad level, and like always falls forward and is always going to get positive yards. That kind of like
always falls forward
and hit it like he knew what he was doing.
As a backer. Yeah,
and he's got the patience though too, right? Like he'll take
Le'Veon Bellish patience,
5, 6. Yes, right? Like yes, he's got a really unique skill set, man. I love watching him run the football. Like it's like he's gonna be really fucking good in the NFL. Like someone's gonna have a lot of fun with him. And you and I both know that. Like someone's gonna have a ton of fun with him because he can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. Like
I wish they would throw it to him more.
Yeah, he's gonna be a dynamic weapon, man.
He is. He's gonna be absolutely phenomenal in the NFL. My dad texted me over the weekend. He's as sick as I am, so he watches as much football as I do. 67 years old out there, just living his best life. And he hit me with the text. He said, "Blake Corum's patience reminds me of when Le'Veon Bell was at Michigan State." And that one really hit me because their games are very different. But if you're looking for a comp in terms of patience that Big Ten fans would be familiar with, that would be the one because he lets the fucking thing set up before he hits it. And so many running backs, man, lack that ability to just wait that half second to let it really set up before they go. And it is such a beautiful thing when it's in action because you're sitting there, you're like, oh, this is a dead play. And just the blocks, you let the guys get on body, and next thing you know, it's hitting the second level, and you're like, holy moly, this guy's good.
Yeah. No, and those 16 and 17 yarders, man, they wear your ass out too. Defense.
They do. I mean, those were some backbreakers too, because he had them in situations where you thought, we bottled this guy up for the first couple, and it's like, nah. So last thing on this game, Michigan second half defense, absolutely phenomenal. They gave up 3 points to Michigan State, or excuse me, 0 points to Michigan State, 3 to Penn State in the second half. Their last couple of battles, man, I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, and you've hit on this a little bit, and I've kind of piggybacked at other points in time. But this defense, man, is really, really, really good. I think exceeding expectations considering what they lost from a production standpoint. And I mean, from a production standpoint, are exceeding what the defense was last year, even though they had all the name recognition that they did. Are they still? You can correct me if I'm wrong here because you are the stats guy. Now, are
Oh
they
boy.
still outpacing them from last year? From last year, I would assume so.
I can't tell you that, but I'm going to
That's
say
fine.
yes. I
Yeah,
mean, if I
that's
lied
fine.
to the people, then I lied to the people, right?
Hey, we'll get it back. We can always come back on record and get it back
They're
next
not
week.
going to double check us.
That's true.
Yeah. No, it's been really good. I mean, just if we're looking at a downside of this defense, I thought Keon Coleman looked really good against the Michigan secondary. So, they got to tighten that up. But outside of that, man, these guys are playing out of their freaking minds.
Yeah.